Vegetable farming is the growing of vegetables for human consumption. Every household in Nigeria consumes one type of vegetable or the other. There is hardly any soup made in households, restaurants, hotels, and local joints that do not contain vegetables. Vegetables can be classified into different categories. First, it could be classified into the part that can be consumed, that is, the leafy part, the fruit part, and the root part. It can also be further classified by the seasons of cultivation, that is, warm-season vegetable and the cold-season vegetables. Today, we focus on the warm-season vegetables, which include cucumbers, eggplant, melons, peppers, zucchini, and summer squash, pumpkin and winter squash, sweet potatoes, tomato, watermelon, and so much more.
My name is NIYI Olukoya, a chartered accountant turned farmer. I'm the founder of Vinemond Farms, Nigeria Limited. Our farm location is at Owode Egba. Owode Egba is under Obafemi Owode local government in Ogun State. I'm going to classify the vegetables in three ways, and I'll classify the vegetables into the part that is consumed. We have the leafy part, we have the fruity part, and we have the root part. Those are the Irish potato, the fruit part are the okra, the leafy part are the pumpkin, and the ewedu, the shokos. So we can classify vegetable in that aspect. Then you can classify it too by the way you cultivate them. There are some that are just annual crops, like the pumpkin, in which you have to do maybe every year. When you are doing ewedu or shoko, that one you can do that in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You harvest, you make your sales, then you plant another one. Then another way in which you can classify vegetable is through season, and that is where the aspect of the warm season vegetable farming and the cold season vegetable farming comes in. For the cold season vegetables, these are the carrots, the garlic, the onions. These are examples of the cold vegetable farming. And the warm vegetables are the tomatoes, pepper, pumpkin, that's the ugu, cucumber, and so forth. And so these are just the two differences. The warm season vegetables is just the same way other vegetables are cultivated. We call it your field establishment. That is getting your land preparation in place. After your land preparation, you have to clear the land. You have to level after clearing, and after that you have to do your bed layout. In our own farm we do 10 feet by 10 feet, and we give a pathway for the ease of wetting. So if you are cultivating the warm season vegetable, the first thing you have to do is clearing of the land. The second thing you have to do is to level the land. You level. After leveling, then you talked about your bed layout. In fact, that one is even key in vegetable farming. So you do your bed layout, then after that, you can be talking about your herbicide, that's the weed control. That's have to put in place, because if you don't do that, you discover that you'll be having a lot of work to do in terms of getting workers to help you to weed. But if you are using herbicide, to control the weed very, very good. So that have to be in place. So these are just the elementary things you have to know when you are cultivating the warm season vegetable. The effect of temperature on this warm season vegetable is huge. In fact, it affects all the aspects of agriculture. It's not only about the warm season vegetable alone. And for some of us that does open field farming, you have no control over the weather. Coupled with the fact of this climate change that we have now, it's a big challenge in which you can't really predict. There are some that are off season, and you want to do, sometimes you want to plant all around the season, because in Nigeria here we don't really practice warm or cold vegetable farming. We do all around season. So in doing this, you have to take into effect the condition, the weather condition. So it's really very challenging now at this aspect. As you agree with me, we have the first rainfall this year, but farmers can't really even still plan at that, because if you should work with that and you go to the field to go and plant, definitely you're going to have a challenge. The first rainfall we experienced this year we're supposed to have experienced it last year, but it's happening now. So these are some of the challenges that farmers face in some of these, but there are ways to control the temperature or the weather.
There are different storage methods that can help keep the warm season vegetables fresh till consumption. The most common storage process includes drying, canning, curing, salting, freezing, and common storage. Most vegetables should be stored in a plastic bag or container in the crisper of your fridge. Fresh vegetables should be stored unwashed. However, fruits and vegetables that are very dirty after harvest can be rinsed and dried well before storing. Storing fresh fruit and vegetables properly is very important. Safe storage can keep you from getting sick from a foodborne illness.
The storage that suits the warm season vegetables, you just have to refrigerate, and this is huge for farmers. In fact, storage facilities is a big challenge. Recently, the Vice President was talking about some of the challenges that the farmers face, and one of the things he mentioned is actually storage facilities. One, for you to refrigerate, you must have a very good power supply in your farm. And which most of us, we don't enjoy this facility. For example, in our own farm, we have a pack house that is well ventilated, and when taken after harvesting, we don't have a facility to store them. So we just have to take it straight to the airport and export it directly. So immediately we harvest towards the evening time. We put it in 2-3 hours, we put it in the cooling van and straight to the airport, and from the airport straight to the diaspora. So storage facility is a big challenge. So if you are coming into this business, you just have to make sure that you have your refrigerating facility in place in which you can store those things. But despite all these challenges I've mentioned, it's good to get a processing machine where you can dry the leaves, then keep them for 3-4 weeks. As long as you have customer, then you can make sales. The warm season vegetable, how can it be cultivated during the cold season? There are technologies in place now in which you can use to cultivate even during the cold season. You know, cold season is talking about the harmattan period. You know, so you can get your greenhouse in place. If you don't have enough money to set up a greenhouse, then you must have a very good water system, irrigation system on your farm. So to set it up, to cultivate during that time, you must have irrigation in place, water, those vegetables to ensure that you'll be able to meet your production. But once you don't have these two things in place, it becomes a big challenge for you. So technology has improved, in which when you are even getting your irrigation, you can make it maybe drip irrigation. You can use the waterfall, the water tube irrigation. You can use the gun irrigation, and so on and so forth. Well, the pests that are common to these warm vegetables are enormous. You know, pests is the major thing, especially if you're an exporter, that you have to eliminate. You have to ensure that your vegetables are pest-free. And in doing that, you have to control your the fungal infection, your insect control have to be in place, your weed control have to be in place. Even sand is a pest. So in doing this warm vegetable farming, you know, pest control is key. And we have different chemicals in which you can use, like insecticide, the fungicide, the herbicide. These are the control in which, those are the chemicals you can use to control some of these pests.